The Joy of Football podcast. With me, Neil Barnett.
And with me, Martin Tyler.
Looks for Xavi! Rooney! Aguero!
The Joy of Football. Hello. The Joy of Football podcast has come back to the Munch and Wiggles, the coffee shop in Oxshott. Is it High Street, Martin?
I think there's only one street, yes.
Is it called the High Street?
I believe it is, yeah.
The Joy of Football with Martin Tyler, the greatest commentator in the world, and me, Neil Barnett. And today, John Terry is our guest. How are you?
I'm really well.
You
Good,
look
actually.
it.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. Let's start. We call this the Joy of Football because we're addicted, as you know.
Yeah.
And so are you, as I know. When did you become addicted? When did football kick off for you?
Oh, well, great question. I would say, seriously, was probably when I signed as a YTS at Chelsea for me. My love for football was there from 2 or 3. I've said to you many years ago, my dad played. I was around football from a really early age, 2 and 3. My dad was captain of the team. He played he had trials at West Ham and stuff, rejected it, wanted to play with his mates and kind of go down that route, which he did. But he played at kind of non-league level. And I was around the dressing rooms and stuff. You know, the old smelling sauces, the white oil. I remember all those kind of smells and stuff, and the arguments and the fights at halftime amongst themselves. So being around the dressing room.
You'd have enjoyed them.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, so did I. Being really young around it. But seriously, at 16, it really hit me going, no, it's time now. And I was very lucky in terms of this because my brother was 2 years older than me. He'd spent 2 years at Charlton Athletic. Done 2 years YTS, didn't get his professional contract, and it absolutely broke him. And for me, seeing that, going into that, I was like, I need to make this happen. I've got 2 years to impress. And I signed a pro contract at Chelsea within kind of 7-8 months. And that was it, really. For
At
me.
what point, John, did you realise in that period before you actually signed that you were going to be a professional footballer and that you were that good? And when that must have dawned on you at some point?
I remember from a really early age, from 7 or 8, people were talking, and you kind of hear things, and scouts are on the phone, and mum and dad are meeting scouts after games. And then probably from the age of 13, 14, Man United come in for me. Sir Alex was on the phone to my dad on a weekly basis, checking up on me, whether I was doing my schoolwork and all of that. Chelsea are in for me. I'd spent a year at Arsenal the year before. So I had a lot of big clubs around me, so I knew there was kind of big demand. And then all of a sudden, I think we've probably all gone through that same process. I hit that puppy fat stage and I didn't grow. Everyone was developing around me and I found it really difficult for 2 years. And Chelsea were on the cusp of, do I get a YTS or not? And boys were being offered contracts and we played, you probably remember this, we played Luton away. The reserves played Luton away and I got called up into that. And the reason I got called up into it was to see if I could handle it. And I was 15 and a half at the time. We were losing 5-0 and I'm on the bench, so I'm warming up. There's 15, 20 minutes to go. Mick McGivern calls me, you're going on. I go on, I score 2 goals within...
As a midfielder?
As a midfielder, score 2 goals within the space of 10 minutes. And now I know that I'm kind of not as probably good as I used to be because I'm going through this stage and physically I was struggling. And then I've got Dave Lee, Dave Rocart, all the older pros going, go up front, you're on hat-trick. And I'm going, I can't. I'm a young kid, I need to stay in midfield. And Dave Lee looked at me and said, get yourself up front now. So I got sent up front. I'm up front for the last 5 minutes of the game trying to get my hat-trick. I didn't get it. But I think that was the real, the definition of me becoming a player and really cementing my place at Chelsea. And then from then, it just kind of spiraled, really.
But the interesting thing about that is, and how football clubs work, is it was the reserves. You hadn't actually got into the youth team and been given your chance in the youth team. And it was almost someone saying, well, if he's not playing the youth team, we'll see what he's like in the reserves. So you actually jumped a level in order to have this prove yourself test.
Yeah, which was really tough because physically I couldn't deal with the age group I was at. So to go in the 21s or the old reserves like it was like...
Men.
Yeah, it was men and it was people that didn't play on the Saturday, played on the Monday. So it was a tough jump. And then things just happened, sliding doors moment. I scored my 2 goals. I actually played really well. And then signed my YTS with Chelsea. And then kind of The season starts, I'm not in the team. We're playing Derby at home. 4 weeks later, I've still not played a game or a minute for the youth team. 2 of the centre-backs phone in sick for the day. Ted Dow says to me, would you play centre-half? And I'm like, yeah, of course I will. I'll play anywhere. So I played. We won the game 4-2. I scored 2 goals from corners, again, from set pieces, and just played really well. I really enjoyed having the game in front of me. So being a midfielder, I was comfortable on the ball, but I really enjoyed kind of organising people and communicating, but then added on with the goals from set pieces, always good with my head. And it just a game-changing thing. I never come out the youth team after that. I then progressed, signed a contract within probably 4 or 5 months later, signed my professional contract and trained with the first team from then on, really.
Did you, when you were just forming your skill set, if you like, did you know that you could head the ball? I mean, you're now working with young academy players who are probably told you head the ball when you feel like it, whereas when you started, if you didn't head the ball, you wouldn't be in the team. So where did that come from? Was that your dad's style of play, or did you just naturally do it?
Yeah, my dad was good in the air. He wasn't the tallest. My dad, he was like 5'10", 5'11", but was good in the air. His timing was always good, and I just always remember him always to get your arm out, feel the attacker, and give yourself a yard and stuff like that. So it kind of always stayed with me. But like even being a midfielder, I remember like being like 8 or 9 and like goal kicks would come and I'd head it back over the keeper and score like 2 or 3 a season with my head. And I was just really, really confident, but really aggressive with my heading, both from set plays, both attacking and defensively as well. So I knew it was a strong point of my game, and kind of the levels I played at, I'd always score goals, which proved to be a massive thing for me going forward for Chelsea.
Professional football is so hard, and you came in, and I find it intriguing. You're not the quickest. You were never the quickest, but you had really quick feet. And people don't talk when people talk about pace, but they don't so much talk about quickness of feet. But your quickness of feet made you the player you were, didn't they?
I would say reading the game. I did have quick feet over the space of probably half a yard. Other than that, I wasn't too quick at all. But I think reading the game was a big part of my game. And as I say, because I was a midfielder, I was always aware of situations around me. I always knew when people would come and was always checking my shoulder as a young kid. And I think when I went back to centre-half in that game particularly, as a young boy at Chelsea, I went back and was like, this feels really easy. Like in midfield, you've always got a man up your backside and kind of putting pressure on there. I had loads of time on the ball. I was very comfortable hitting a diag left to right back. I was very comfortable going the other. I was very comfortable feeding the ball in midfield. And it just felt really good for me having the game in front of me. So I wasn't the quickest. I think reading the game was a big part of my game as well, and never taking any risk. Like, again, my dad in my head, give yourself half a yard always. Let them have it at their feet. You can always get back up. But that one over the top, if you get done there, they're through on goal being a defender. So you always kind of want to reduce that space as much as possible. And it stayed with me. I read the game. And I think naturally the game evolved as we played. There was fitness coaches coming in. I was doing footwork. I was getting sharper. I was getting stronger. You get more intelligent. So you grow and you learn. I think the people you play with as well. I say this an awful lot. Saturday afternoons in the Premier League felt really easy to me. Now, I don't want that to sound arrogant, but playing against Didier Spy, you know what he was like on the training pitch every single day. He was an absolute animal. And I remember going into games going, oh my God, this is so much easier than Monday to Friday with Didier or Diego Costa. And there were some world-class players, don't get me wrong, but it just felt comfortable because the level was so high at Chelsea.
And did you recognise this at the time? And we're obviously asking you to think back. But a lot of young players would say, well, he's only young, he's a teenager, maybe 20s, he can't learn the game, can't know the game. And you're saying really that you had a knowledge of the game, and that's why your career went so rapidly, meteorically.
Yeah, I think so. I think you learn the dark arts. And I think I had a big advantage of, I just spoke about the little stories of being in the dressing rooms and watching my dad and being really observant of that as well. I think probably this generation are not aware of how important those little bits are. And I suppose with VAR, you have to be a little bit more careful as well. So there's a balance of, can you get away with it? It's really difficult now as well. So that they also have to be very careful. In my day, which is a few years ago, we kind of got away with a lot more and stuff. But
I have this theory. As you know, I have many theories.
Don't we know it?
Am I going to disagree with this one as well?
I have this theory that most good players reach their level at about 21. But the ones who go on to become world class tend to go at 21 on a really fast, rocketing upward scale. I'll put you in that. I'll put Frank Lampard in that. Those kind of players, and you can look across at any. You put someone like Paul Scholes in that. Any one who becomes world class tends to be like that. How much did you learn between the ages of 21 to 24, and how much did you just progress naturally in those years?
I think I learned an awful lot. And again, I go back to the players that I was around. That I'm a big believer in surround yourself with bigger and better players, and you learn and you adapt and you just grow as a person. And I think at Chelsea at that time, we had so many I was so lucky, Spy. When we was at Chelsea, I grew up with the likes of Gianfranco, Mark Hughes, I'm playing against these as a 16, 17-year-old, going through the generations of having them at the back end of their career. Vialli's movement, Franco, how he dropped short. We had so many different players that I was playing against. Crespo when he come in, Didier when he come in, Diego Costa, all of these bits, you naturally, you can only learn and adapt. And I think the best players do, and they keep growing because they have that hunger inside as well. And I think that's a lot of that's where you're from as well. I was hungry every day to improve and work up. Maybe that's because I thought I was never the best. I was always worried at Chelsea that we could go and sign the best defenders, people better than me. I was always conscious and worried of that. And I think that's what made me relentless. But you speak about Lamps. I've never seen anyone like it on a daily basis. The levels and bits like that. Whenever I was struggling in training, I would always go and attach myself to Lamps. And the reason I'd done that, he didn't stop moving, didn't stop checking his shoulder, didn't stop pulling away from me. And it was the fittest I'd ever been. The season I kind of in training went, I'm going to mark you on a daily basis. He'd find half a yard and get his shot away really quickly. And I'd be like, right, I need to get tighter there. And you learn and you adapt to that. And it's like when you're around players like that, you can only get better.
I have a memory, John, and I think you remember it differently because this has sort of come up in the last year or so. The first Asia Trophy, which Chelsea won at the time where the Abramovich era was starting.
Yeah.
And I remember after that final, with you and Frank and Jeff Shreves was there from Sky, and we talking about, oh, hang on a minute, we don't quite know what's going to happen now because new ownership. And
it was the year that Roman Abramovich bought the club.
Yeah, and one or two new signings. I came out a bit later than the teams went out, and we had Damien Duff and one or two others on the flight coming out. And I'm thinking the new players arriving all the time, and that there was an air of uncertainty amongst two men who went on to be truly great players for the club and for the country as well. Do you remember it as that, or that feeling of what's going to happen next? You know, especially as you said that you perhaps not the greatest belief in yourself.
Yeah, we definitely felt that as players because we didn't know what was happening, didn't know to the extent of how rich Roman was, how much he was going to put into the club, and how quickly that was going to happen as well overnight in terms of management, how determined Jose was to come in and change. And Mourinho used to remind us as well, if you wasn't good enough, he would go out and replace you very quickly as well, which was also at the back of your mind as well. But having those types of people around you was very important for the football club. But we felt that as players. And again, but we had the likes of De Bruyne and Salah. I get asked that question a lot of the time as well. At the time, they were both very young. They wasn't ready at the time. And the reason I say that because the level was so high. But I'm sure if you speak to them, they would have learnt from Chelsea of going, that's what it takes. That's the level I need to get to. Now, I'm not saying Chelsea played a part in that because those two went on to be exceptional players and still are today. But that plays a big part. And we were very lucky that we had known of ready to improve season after season. If you wasn't good enough, you were quickly gone, no matter who you were. And I think that was really important in the success of our football club.
Uncertainty, but fear.
Yeah, really. The uncertainty, the fear, the fear of it, the fear of the manager. Like I say this quite a lot. You look at the generations of the Premier League era. Sir Alex Ferguson, when he dominated with Man United, he was in charge of the football club, top to bottom. Arsene Wenger, after that, was in charge of Arsenal, top to bottom. Players were scared of him. I've spoken to people and players about both of those managers. After that, you have Pep at Man City. You had Chelsea, Mourinho at Chelsea. We were all petrified because there was one man in charge. And I think the way the game's gone, that's different now. There's direct contact with owners and sporting directors and all of this. The managers, for me, are not so important, if that makes sense.
Well, they're not managers, they're coaches.
Yeah.
Which brings us on to a whole array of different questions. So let's get down to it. Let's just get this on the record. You led the defence that let in the fewest goals in top flight English history. You've scored more goals than any other Premier League defender ever, even though you didn't take penalties, including ones who took penalties.
Clearly.
You've played over 100
penalties.
Yeah. You've played over 100 games in the Champions League. Do you think, and by the way, I think you've got the best win record of any England captain ever. Do you think that you get a game today? And I'm not talking about you in your 40s. I'm talking about you in your prime.
He could play for Woking, for sure.
Because you said that you gave yourself half a yard. Now you've got to defend on the halfway line, or maybe at the front of the centre circle. You've got to be up the forward's backside the second he gets the ball. And then you've just got to hair back and hope that you're quick enough to not bring him down and get sent off.
Yeah, I think I could have still played. Yeah.
But would you have adapted, or would the coaches have adapted to you?
They would have had to adapt to me. I think me in terms of player, if I had fit in and stuff like that. It's really difficult because I think as players, when you're on the pitch as well, I had the freedom and felt like I had the freedom to make decisions. So everyone's obsessed with playing out from the back at the minute. It drives me insane at all levels of football. At Chelsea, I wanted the ball. We wanted to play out from the back constantly. But Peter Cech would put the ball on the 6-yard box. We'd split and we'd go, no thanks, not today. Why? Because they've got 3 men on the edge of the box that are going to come charging after me, charging after Ricky, and put pressure on us. So what we'll do is we'll beat that press. We'll go into Didier, and Big Pete's capable of it in a 50-yard quality pass into his chest. Now we beat that press. You set lamps. You go wide. So that's a strength. That's recognising football and understanding football. Now, naturally, if you're the two attackers and you're sitting off, I go, I'll have it every day of the week. So I'm not sure players have the responsibility to make those decisions anymore. It's play out from the back at all costs. Now, I'm not sure I would have fitted into that because I would have gone, I'm not playing out here because it's on me. And, even at the bridge at times, Sanchez puts the ball down and it's like you can feel the supporters at times you're going, just go long, just beat the press, but it's not. They want to play, and that's all football clubs as well. But I think in terms of players, you have to take a bit of responsibility on the pitch. You're going, I'm not comfortable at the minute. We're under pressure as a team, and there's some good teams in the Premier League as well. Let's give ourselves a little bit of a rest for 5-10 minutes and go a little bit more direct, which is completely fine. I mean, you say the word direct now, you're a dinosaur, you're kind of...
Old school.
Yeah, old school. That's probably why I'm not managing and all of that. But that's just where we are in today's football.
But you had the leadership qualities to do it. And I'm still commentating on Premier League games. I don't see those kind of characters. They're always looking to the coach.
Yeah.
The moment a player goes down injured, everybody runs to the sideline to get another tactical lesson from what they heard in the dressing room 20 minutes earlier.
But also, I have to give Jose credit, who was the best by a million miles. You know how much I love him. And anything happened in the game, we knew what was happening. If you go down injured, you're coming on, so be ready. If this happens and they change to a 3 at the back, this is what we're doing. So we already had the answers before it was. It probably looked as though it was the players making a lot of those decisions, but I have to say he deserved an awful lot of the credit. And 9.9 times out of 10, he was absolutely spot on.
But
so you weren't making the decision? Is that
some of them I was, but he takes a lot of credit for it.
I have this desire. They change the rules and the laws of the game all the time and muck them up more and more and more. I have this desire now to have a new law that says we've got to return, or a philosophy that says you've got to return the game to the players. And one of the things that I think would help that is that a manager's time is pre-match, half-time, full-time. Yeah, you can still scream from the touchline and jump up and down and do the Unai Emery funny walk. But what you cannot do is have one-to-ones as a coach with players during each 45
Before
minutes.
you answer, John, I'll give you a solution the lawmakers could bring in. As in cricket and other sports, take the water on. So you've got one of the staff with all the water bottles there, walks onto the field at a stoppage for an injured player. They drink the water on the field and they can't go near the dugout. Now that would be the simplest thing in the world to do to stop all this.
Yeah. I suppose it goes back to that, but it gives the players a bit more responsibility. But I think it's embedded now, even in the academy where I'm at, we do a lot of things for the kids and everything's kind of handed and given to them and stuff. And I'm not sure. I think there's so, like you, I agree with you. There's so many rule changings that are kind of I agree with, I disagree with, and football. I don't think football's in a great space at the moment. If I'm honest, I don't enjoy watching football anymore, which for me is a worrying place to be. Now, I might be completely different. Other people might enjoy it. But I watched the game Chelsea the weekend and Palace get there and they sit back and we're trying to break them down and I just get frustrated with it. There's players that excite me. Obviously at Chelsea, you look at Palmer and those guys. I think the new signings look very good as well. But I just don't get there and go, it excites me, whether that's Chelsea or whether that's Man United or Arsenal or Man City, Barcelona. I think it's all very much the same, where it's like a chess game. Very boring to watch.
Well, it's a coach's game. It's not a player's game a lot of the time. Every coach has got a philosophy.
Yeah, but you have to. When you sit in these meetings, and hence why I'm sure we'll get into it. But the reason I'm not managing, you sit in these meetings, they want to know your philosophy and the game plan and what style of play you're going to play, and are you playing out from the back? Well, no, actually. Well, why? Because we're in League One and we've not got the players to play out from the back. So why are we going to be like Man City? No, we want to play like Man City. That's fantastic. And I sit in these interview process and I'm sitting there, I'm halfway through and I'm going, I'm not getting this job. But I'm also not sitting there and coming away from what I am, what John Terry is as a player, what I was as a player, but also what I want to be or wanted to be as a manager as well. So I can't sit in there and I don't need to sit in there and give anyone bullshit to get the job.
So have you watched football recently and thought, that's the kind of manager I'd like to play for?
Pep's probably the only one. I'd love to play for Pep. I think he's great. When you're Man City, the way they play, I think he's brilliant. I love the way that they've got the best players in the world, so they should be playing the best football. It's the same as that Barcelona side. They play tiki-taka football. You can't get near them, but you jump and they beat the press and they're gone, and you kind of don't get back. Before you know it, you're 1-0 down. Not everybody can play like Man City.
Do you think it'll swing back though? I mean, it's what goes around comes around. In football, that's been true for decades, hasn't it? So
you would know, mate. You've been in that game and you've seen an awful lot of games over the years. So I'm sure it will come around. I think it will a little bit. I think it will be an advantage to a lot of teams because, number one, not many teams play that way. And I'm not saying play direct. I don't want to be the old school manager. But defenders, I don't think defend anymore either. Nobody knows how to head the ball. So actually, if you go and make it a bit more physical, whether that's for 10 minutes and you earn the right to play after that, I think teams would find it very tough to deal with. You look at teams over the course of the Premier League the last 10 years, like Dyche has received a lot of stick over the years, but set plays has been absolutely superb. Like that's a big strength. I just spoke about my career and how important those goals were to me from set pieces. That's a huge part of the game as well. So you don't have to be direct. You just need to be adaptable, and I don't think people are.
Who did your set pieces? Because now everyone has a set piece coach, which wasn't the case unless you were doing it yourself.
Yeah.
For it, I know when you went into coaching, you would be doing that. Yeah. But when you were playing and you got all those goals, was it Jose saying do this, or did you just have a look at the situation?
Yeah, he actually hated set plays. He hated spending time on the training ground doing it. I think we done it once when we was going for a really tough patch, and we conceded a couple of goals in a few games, which was really odd for us. But it was pretty much going, okay, we're going up. Now, 9 times out of 10, because I was probably one of the strongest in terms of attacking, their biggest centre-back would come and mark me. So if we're playing Man United, Vidic would be marking me. So now I'm going, okay, Gaz Cahill is being marked by, let's say, Wes Brown. And you go, Gaz has got the better of Wes, I think. And me and Vidic are probably very similar, very aggressive, very good in the air. What I'm going to do here, Gaz, I'm going to take him away and I'm going to actually leave you 1v1. So that's not the manager telling me I have to do that. That's recognising where your strengths are. And also, you look to the third choice of going, okay, if Gaz and Wes are the same, we both pull away to the back, and then you get another one across the front and tell Lamps to go near post, and we'll be the back post for the second balls. But you look for the small little advantages of where you can gain those those
But
little
you'd be
bits.
doing that
Yeah,
either
we'd
in the
be
week or on
during
the
the
morning
week,
of the
or
game.
those little morning of the game
Yeah,
conversations on the walk or at the hotel, the dressing room before the game.
Mm.
I mean, now it's all great because you can look at the videos and the strengths and weaknesses of teams and stuff like that. But it wasn't something we massively focused on. That was like player-led, really.
I mean, you brought it up yourself about not managing at the moment and suggesting you might not manage again, which I'm sure you'll have second thoughts on that. But is it just that, the philosophy of maybe different kinds of coaches, the laptop warriors, if you like, and is it just been a philosophical problem, or is it the jobs that you have had? Obviously, we talked to Villa and we talked to Leicester, and that maybe the wrong job at the wrong time? Or
No, listen, I love my time at Aston Villa. Aston Villa means a lot to me and my family. It was a really good place for me to be, obviously to get promoted, and loved working with Dean. You know, Dean's a great guy and a great manager as well. Rich O'Kelly and, you know, Sheikh, who's very sadly passed away. But I had some great times there. Really enjoyed being on the grass with the players, but also being a level below Chelsea at the time we were. Helping the players individually and getting them to that next level was really important and something I really enjoyed, and hence why I love my role at the academy at the minute. But in terms of going for those jobs and sitting in those interviews, it's not like I'm applying for, and this is the misconception, when you come out and say I'm not coaching because I'm not getting an opportunity, it's not me trying to become Man City's manager or Arsenal's manager or Chelsea's manager. I understand that in terms of John Terry's coaching career, I'm here. I've done all my badges. I'm fully committed. I've done 5 years worth of really hard work to get to where I need to get to. But when you go into these job interviews at League One, now I don't know League One because I've never played in League One. So I look at that as a disadvantage to me. But I'm also prepared because I've watched an awful lot of football over my time and got a lot of connections around that level of football where I know I could make an impact. So I targeted League One as my level and where I wanted to go at. I didn't really want to go League Two, and I felt, being really honest, I was above that. And I think that's fine to say. And going into 2 or 3 interviews and that, I got the job because I had no experience. Now, how is John Terry ever supposed to get experience after being an assistant manager at Aston Villa for 3 years, getting a promotion on his CV, staying in the Premier League, you know, doing really well, 6th in the league when I kind of left my role there. The experience at Leicester when we went back in and just missed out on keeping them up. So all of these bits become frustrating. And I just made the call probably about a year ago and going, I can't keep watching all of this football. I can't keep doing all these videos and presentations to sit in these meetings and kind of sell myself. I know the history and the love I've got for the game, but in terms of now, I'm definitely done with coaching. I'm not. That's where I'm at. I love my role at Chelsea. I'm in a part-time role working with the kids, and again, that same pinch point of the 21s where they're just on the cusp of working and getting across with the first team. And I feel like my love for Chelsea and my love and encouragement for the boys can play a big part in that. So I really enjoy my role there. I love my golf, as you know. I'm playing loads of golf. And more importantly, I'm enjoying some family time as well, which is great.
We had someone you know very well, Carlton Cole, on the podcast a few months ago, and he said, surprising because obviously the situation for black coaches has been difficult to get a job. And he said, no, it's not about that. He said, I'm discriminated against because I'm English. And have you felt that? I mean, there are not the decreasing number of English coaches and managers.
Yeah, I think it's hard. I think the frustrating thing for me is I see people in the game without naming names, and I'm baffled to how they've been given the opportunity. Now, there's a lot of people that can sit in the room and put on, you know, a meeting or a slideshow and a presentation and really sell themselves. If that's what you want, then I'm definitely not your man. If you want someone who's going to go in and understand and know what it's like to win football matches and find the best way possible and play the best team to do it and get the fans on side and buy into a culture where the fans turn up and go, that's exactly what we want to see. And that's what I embody. As John Terry is the player, I would be exactly the same as a manager. Now, I would have a calmness about me, 100%. Being Chelsea captain over the years, dealing with different nationalities, is all about dealing with people and individuals in different walks of life. And I think at Chelsea at that time, at my time in my career, you would know in terms of staff, I made sure that everyone was okay in every single department. And I think people's skills today in football, I think, is the biggest thing, which I've done I'm going to say it, superbly well at Chelsea for 22 years.
No one would disagree with that.
But you took the captain's role very seriously, and I always remember saying when you left that you'll probably be the last captain at Chelsea who knew the names of all the youth team players. I mean, because the captain's role has become so dissipated down the years, because I believe coaches don't want the challenge. I don't think, I can't think of a coach that would have you anywhere near the captaincy now, because you'd be in their faces all the time.
Yeah, but I also wasn't like that, Spy. You know me as a person. I wasn't.
Yeah.
I think people's perception of me, if you said, what was JT like as a captain, you'd be going, trying to make decisions, trying to run the football club, trying to sign certain players. It was the complete opposite for me. For me, being a captain and leading the team is about setting the example on the pitch and doing the right thing, turning up early. It's a real basic, but it's a real skill set in life of what we work on with the kids. Of if we're training at 11 o'clock, I'm really old school in this, but it's really passionate in me. If you're turning up at 11 o'clock, you're on time, you're late. If you're turning up early, you're good. So turn up 15, 20 minutes early before training, the body language, all of these side of things, I think was important. And when people come into the building, they understand that all of these little bits over the years passed on from Wisey to me to Aspie, now to Reece, who's obviously feels and breathes the football club. It's important, but we need to keep that. Not only at Chelsea, I think other football clubs need to have that. I think we're really lucky at Chelsea because we've had so many players come through the ranks and we still have in the system that are kind of in that first team building that live and breathe Chelsea.
Just one question on that, John, is now you're working mentoring the young players. Is you were winners. Everybody said that. I mean, the record book showed it, all the medals, all the silverware at Stamford Bridge. Do you find that the winning mentality is brought into the young players as it was, or maybe you had it naturally, but about the results at lower levels don't seem to matter very much. I see a lot of the under 21 games and they're 4-3s and they're quite fun to watch, but the development of players seems to overtake the actual turning you into a winning footballer rather than just a talented footballer. How do you see that at the moment?
I think the balance of that across all age groups in terms of youth football is really difficult because you get managers come in the door and they want to kind of implement their style and they want to play a certain way, and it's not about winning, it's all of that. What's really refreshing, we've just had a young coach called Callum come in from Southampton, used to be at Man City, and he's done a presentation today to the boys.
This is the under 21s.
Under 21s, yeah. And actually he put a slideshow up today. It's been 5 years since we won the league. Now we beat Man City on Monday night, 3-1, really good performance. But actually seeing that image, like I'm sitting there and I'm in with the boys, that hurt me. As being Chelsea, those boys felt that because you have those discussions after. And not a lot of us knew, I didn't know that it was 5 years since we'd won it. Man City have dominated and Spurs won it once when they went really strong in terms of playing senior players and stuff. But it's really refreshing that we're looking at that because winning is important. Winning is important on a daily basis.
Is it everything?
Well, for me it is. For me it is. But it is for certain people in their roles. A lot of roles in the academy, a development process as well. And a lot of coaches are in there to kind of develop players and make them ready for the first team. So I get that. That's got to be really important. And that's got to be up there right at the top. But I think we can never get away from how important winning is. Now, if you're looking at under 8s, 9s, 10s, it's probably not top of your list. It has to be there somewhere because we're Chelsea and that's what we're used to and that's what you want to keep embedding in these young players. But development is the key to it. Can we get them ready? So winning the 18s and 21s is great, which we've dominated for years, but it's about getting them ready for when they go over to the first team. So if we can do both like we have done for a lot of time, obviously it's been 5 years, like I said, so we need to start winning again at 21 level to make sure we're producing players that are ready for the first team and ready to go and cement their place in the team.
When they get there, is the age of a coach building a team to get the best out of their best players over, and now the best players have to fit into the coach's way of playing?
Good question. Yeah, probably. Yeah. It's so difficult, isn't it? Because the players are getting younger. Even at the age of 28, 29, it was like, well, you're getting old for me as a player. You're seen as a kind of senior player at 27, 28. Everyone's kind of coming backwards, which means you're getting younger players. They're on less money. you can then maybe sell them on for double if you get them first team game experience and all of that. So understand the process of certain football clubs. If you're the top football clubs and you've understand what success is. So for Brighton and Brentford, that's your model. Completely fine for me. When you're Chelsea, Man United, Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, doesn't work for me. I think you can definitely make it work, but then I think you miss that really important bit, which goes back to your winning side for me. So getting the balance is really difficult. Do you go, we have to do this for a couple of years, and you bring in younger players and you understand the manager's kind of roles and stuff, and there's a process to it. I get that, but when you're Chelsea, winning has to be right at the top for me.
I refuse to accept that your coaching and managerial career is over. So let's go back to your playing career, which is just about over. I think I'm sure you're playing for the Chelsea legends from time to time, but when you look back at it as a body of work, what pleases you the most?
You know what? To have so much success, I think for me, growing up and being Chelsea like I was at 14, like we still won cups. Chelsea we'd win the odd cup competition, the FA Cup and different cups. We become winners in that, and we become winners surrounded by really, really good people. And people that have been at a club for a really long time and not seeing that, and seeing that in the fans. And I still go back today and having discussions with the supporters and stuff. Now it's like they've got 10-year-olds who don't recognise me, and they're like, do you know this is the kids? Like, no. But you make a real difference in supporters and fans' lives. And I think that's the biggest thing. So success is great because it gives you the trophies. But on the bigger side of it for me, is always about the supporters and those memories. So when I go back and I see that of generations going I used to come with my granddad when we first won it, and now I've got my boy here and we're still winning trophies. It's those little bits for me you go, that's what it's all about for me.
We're in the transfer window, as we talked. Was there an example of someone coming into the club who you thought, wow, and it just made a huge difference, a big step up on everything that was going on? Someone with incredible influence somehow.
Yeah, probably a couple throughout the times of it. I think Gianfranco very early on was a big player in that. The Italian players were great because we used to, as you know, train at Harlett and no food. When it was food, it was burger and chips and bacon sandwiches and this, that and the other. And the Italians just couldn't believe it, could they? It was like we had to get thrown out on a Wednesday afternoon because the colleagues were coming in. And these guys really changed the mindset of what it looked like to be a top footballer. Now, to have a glass of wine as well, that's completely fine the night before a game, as the Italians did. But to have a bacon sandwich wasn't the right thing to do. But it really changed the mindset of witnessing that as a 16-year-old. So I say them initially.
Can I tell a story?
Go on.
I'm going to tell a story. When Ruud Gullit became Chelsea manager, so you were still an academy, or the equivalent of academy player then, he introduced this thing that players, and they were first team English players in the main, who were slightly technically challenged, shall we say, had to come in and do, I think it was half an hour's technical work before training started. And they were furious at this, especially the ones who liked to late night the night before. I'm not just talking about you, Frank Sinclair, but they were absolutely furious about this, and they had to come in and do this technical training for half an hour beforehand, which they needed. I mean, it was, and they did improve. But what stopped them being furious was when they started doing it, Gianfranco and Dan Petrescu were the two who came in and said, oh, we'll do that with you. We could do with some of that. And senior players who wanted to just hone their technique in training came in and did it with them voluntarily.
Yeah, at the back end of their career, and me being a 16, 17-year-old, seeing that, like Franco used to get me out and do one-on-ones with me. You would remember this as well. And it was the most embarrassing thing I've ever had to go through. You know, at Harlett, and everyone was kind of watching in the canteen as well. Yeah. And he used to get a bag of balls and get the ball. I used to have to play the ball from the goal line up to the edge of the box, and Franco would be one-on-one. And you know what he was like? Jinky, really sharp and really strong as well. But he was absolutely brilliant. honestly, like we do 10 balls, and I promise you, I'll give you little pointers. And over the course of the year, just improve my footwork, my body position. He had so much time for the younger players, and honestly, he's the nicest man you could ever meet, and made a real difference still today to the likes of myself and other players as well. So we're very lucky we had the likes of him. After that was Lamps. Lamps was a big game changer in the mindset of training and all of that. And then I have to say, people like Didier and Big Pete, who was the spine of the team, I think was big for us, because culturally we was becoming a different football club. There was lots of different cultures in the football club, and they played a big part, like me and Lamps with the English boys and the kind of, Spanish boys and stuff like that. And then Didier would kind of control the African boys, and Big Pete, speaking 5 languages as he did, just controlled.
And learning a new one each night.
And playing the drums and all of that. Was just brilliant. So we controlled the dressing room brilliantly, and we had a really good balance. And it was probably the best time, I think, when we had us 4 there.
John, tell us the story about the boots. Did you go out in new boots to warm up every game? Or this thing's been handed down as an urban myth. Tell us the truth.
No, I did have 3 pairs of brand new boots every game from Nike. So Nike were my sponsor. I'm not sure they was too happy. So Nike, I apologise. But I used to have a pair to warm up, and a pair for the first half, and a pair for the second half. And now the reason being, like, I really liked my boots being really tight. So anyone who's played football, as soon as they get a bit loose and baggy, which because I had quite big and wide feet, they would kind of go, and I just lost that feel a little bit. And again, small margins for me make a big difference. And also the pitches were really wet. So the wetter they was, the softer the boots become, and they stretched even more. And then naturally at Chelsea, you're winning games, you're scoring. So it's like, it's working. So I'm continue doing it, and you don't lose for 3 or 4 years on the spin, and it kind of adds, and you get loads of other bits. But that was one of
How long did you do that for? And what stage in your career? When?
I've done that for probably, I reckon, the last 10 years of my career.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not an urban myth.
No, definitely not. We did donate and give them to charity and sell them at auction and stuff. So raise a lot of money for charity, which is good.
Great.
Once you reached a top level, how hard was it to keep the hunger?
Oh, that was the easiest bit for me. Getting there was the hardest. I think staying there and maintaining felt okay for me. Because like I say...
Was that true for everyone? Or was part of your captaincy trying to make that true for everyone?
Yeah, trying to make it true for everyone. But it's really weird. Probably a lot of people would say the opposite to that. But I think getting there was the hardest bit. Maintaining felt good to me, because I was surrounded by really good people. I was doing things right. I had a chef at home. I was doing all the things right off the pitch and stuff. So when you get there, you know what it takes to get there. And then you get there and go, okay, I can go another level here, and you can keep going. And I think, like I said, bringing in top players, like we're bringing in big defenders for 40, 50 million. I'm coming in, I need to go again. And doing all those bits right, both on and off the pitch, were important for me.
So if winning was that important, how bad was losing?
Yeah, horrible. I often say you have to hate losing more than you love winning. It's a big quote for me, and I just, even still today though, I hate it. Whether it's golf, playing pool, a ski challenge with my kids, I physically, I could get really emotional, like just the anger, it will never leave me, which frustrates the family. But it's just something that's in there. I don't know, it must be from childhood. It must be. Things are tough growing up, and I come from a difficult background and stuff like that. But it's just ingrained in you to want to win. And I'm a big believer in, you want to win so much, and you make people believe around you, and they become winners, and you become stronger as a team rather than individuals. And at the training ground, when we won, everyone won. And I made people feel that as well. So when Chelsea won, it wasn't just the players and the staff and all of that. It's the people that are kind of in the kitchen or doing the kit at 2 a.m, coming in, washing the kit. Everyone won. I made sure of that at the football club. So those are the bits that I really, really love and enjoy about my career.
So how hard was it to stop?
Difficult, but I knew, my body told me. I think every ex-player says that, they know. And I remember I was at Chelsea. So when Conte come in, he wanted to play 3 at the back. So I'd had a meeting with the defenders pre-season, and we're away working hard. And we're like, oh, definitely not playing. We're definitely not playing 3 at the back. So he sat with the defenders. These are my thoughts. I want to play 3 at the back. Me, Branner, Gaz. We're like, we've always played 4, and listen, we'll adapt. We're happy, and then it's down to you to pick the team. It's fine. And he stuck with the 4 going into the season. And then we played Swansea away. I got injured. I twisted my ankle after about 70 minutes. I think we won 5-1, I think. And come back to the training ground, done the scan. I was going to be out for 6 or 7 weeks. It was probably the best thing that happened to Chelsea Football Club that year. Because basically I didn't get back in. The next game we played Arsenal away, he went to a free and I never got back in.
3-0 down.
At half time, yeah. And we actually played really well. And he knew the system so well. Like the training we done was like the same every single day. And the boys, I wouldn't say the attacking players enjoyed it, but defensively it was really good to get the structure. And when you know football and you understand the game, like having a defensive structure is really good to get a feel from. And then we had the freedom, the likes of Hazard, Diego, that would just do what they wanted to do anyway. So it was fine. It was a really good balance. But I didn't get back in the team. So I had a conversation with Antonio. I said, listen, I'm here. We had Nathan Aki at the time. I said, listen, I think this is going to be my last year. But I'm here for you. If you need me, I'm fit. I'm ready to play. Obviously, I could still play. But I said, Aki's there. He's quicker than me. He's stronger than me. He's younger than me. And he's left side as well. We were struggling for a left side player. He had better hair than me. Better looking, with better abs than me. That's enough about him anyway. But turned into, he played against Spurs in the semi-final. In the FA Cup, yeah. And I looked at that game. I'm sitting on the bench going, I would have struggled here. I think Son was playing on the right wing for them. I would have struggled. And I was there for Antonio. I was there for the team. They knew that I was training well every day. I was around it. I was actually like a half coach, half player. I was in some of the meetings and stuff. And Antonio was great for me. I think he thought it was going to be a difficult conversation, leaving me out. But in some way, I was quite relieved because I'd always wanted the Chelsea supporters to remember me of being that. I never wanted them going, oh, that last year he was just there. So I left on my terms, which is also a big thing. I'd seen Lamps and Ash leave. Unfortunately, never got to say goodbye to the Chelsea supporters. So I was very lucky in that way. We won the league that year. I went and had a year in the Championship with Aston Villa that led me to coaching for 3 years, which I loved.
John, it's been quite a story. And it ain't finished yet, despite what you're telling everybody. And thank you for giving us your time
pleasure.
today.
Really good to see you both.
I hope people out there in the football land will see that the potential for management and coaching, and it's not necessarily totally old school at all, is it?
No.
You can work a laptop, can't you? So, but it's great, and we've known each other a long time. Obviously, you've known Spy a long time as well. So bless you for giving us your friendship today in a more public way than we have done before. So
my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Stay there, because we're going to go into Martin Tyler's letter from the gantry.
Letter from the gantry.
Well, thanks, Neil. My first gantry this season, Elland Road on the evening of Leeds United's return to the Premier League. A raucous atmosphere, emphasised by the rousing choruses of Marching On Together. And for me, pretty much wherever I'm sent, a whiff of nostalgia. 49 years almost to the day of my first commentary at the club. Leeds against Derby County, both then recent winners of the old First Division. Leeds won that day 2-0. And at least 2 of the members of that side were in attendance for this campaign's opener against Everton. Eddie Gray, who scored the first goal I ever described at Elland Road, and the regular right-back for years, Paul Reaney. Earlier on that day, a vital email dropped into my inbox, the Premier League Pronunciation Guide. All the players recorded saying their names to camera a couple of times for the benefit of commentators worldwide. These days, my work is for PLP, Premier League Productions, who control the broadcast and distribution for all of the rights holders outside the United Kingdom. With such a global audience, my bosses rightly expect pronunciations to be strictly adhered to, particularly the names of those players new to English football. And this leads to the occasional difference from domestic broadcasting, where a certain amount of anglicisation has been the norm down the years. I was on duty on the opening Monday last season. Again, the guide had just been delivered. Spurs were away to Leicester and had brought with them a young midfield player from Sweden, known to most of you now as Lucas Bergvall. But in talking to the Premier League camera on pronunciation day, he made it crystal clear that with the difference of the letter G in Swedish, the proper way to say his second name is Bergvall. as in the late Sven-Göran Eriksson. Göran, written, begins with a G. And Berryval is what I've called him ever since for PLP's worldwide audience. This August, it was another Lucas who needed this kind of attention, the new Leeds United goalkeeper, whose second name is spelt P-E-R-R-I. Perry, easy you would think, but think again. The R's in certain parts of Brazil are said as H's. If you listen on TalkSport to the excellent Tim Vickery, who lives in Rio de Janeiro, you will know this already, or should I say Rio de Janeiro. So thanks to the pronunciation guide, we know that it's not Perry, but Pehi. Against Everton, he had very little to do, so I was able to ease myself in that respect. And by the way, in the Tottenham list of players in this up-to-date guide, you will hear the scorer of 2 of their goals on opening Saturday against Burnley announcing himself as Hitcharlison. Earlier this year, Manchester City, who by the way are particularly helpful with the phonetics, signed a young Brazilian centre-back whose second name is spelled R-E-I-S, but pronounced Reis. But that's less of an immediate worry because City have sent him out on loan this season. Less of a surprise, because he's played in England before, was another Leeds recruit and yet another Lucas, the scorer of the winning goal from the spot with family names starting with a silent N. So it's not Nemetcher, but simply Metcher. He and his footballing brother Felix, both born in Germany and grew up in Manchester. For Lucas, it was a return to the Premier League after a gap of over 7 years. He made 2 brief appearances for Manchester City in April and May of 2018. And this time, he's already made a greater impact. Well, that wrapped up the opening set of fixtures. Leeds and especially Sunderland taking advantage of returning to the Premier League with a home game. And Sunderland, with a whole raft of newcomers, included the first player from Mozambique to appear in the division, left-back Reinaldo. That's 127 different nationalities now, thanks to Opta for that fact. Some themes did reoccur. Chris Wood scored with his first effort at goal, as he had done for Nottingham Forest in the 2 previous seasons. Fulham had set a Premier League record with 17 goals from substitutes in the last campaign, and they pressed the same button at Brighton in the 97th minute too. Rodrigo Muniz conspicuous again in that ability to boost from the bench. That was one of only 3 of the 10 games in which both teams scored. Liverpool 4, Bournemouth 2, and Brentford won the others. And 9 of the 20 teams failed to score, 45%. But that meant 9 clubs kept clean sheets, with perhaps the most satisfied manager being Daniel Farke of Leeds. Twice before, he had won promotion from the Championship with Norwich City, but not been backed in the big league with sufficient investment. In all 49 games, only 6 wins. But before his 50th, his first for Leeds, of course, against Everton, he seems to have been given greater resources. And most of the new recruits are 6 foot plus, from the keeper, Lucas Pehi, to the most recent signing, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So the word from that gantry at Ellen Road is that Leeds, in more ways than one, are aiming high. Yeah. So plenty of clean sheets, John, so around the first weekend of the Premier League.
We missed that voice, Martin, as well.
Do you watch, when you watch footy on telly, do you watch whole games or highlights more?
Snippets. Well, not really highlights. I watch the live games, but I'm kind of in, then I'm out, and then I'm back in. Like I said, I just find it backwards, sideways, round again, backwards, sideways.
You saw 2 clean
again.
sheets, Crystal Palace and Chelsea.
Yeah, so I kind of dip my toe in and out of it, really.
Yeah.
Unless Chelsea, if Chelsea are playing, obviously I watch it all, but I go to a lot of the games when they're at home.
Okay.
I think we're done.
Okay. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Absolute
Thanks,
pleasure.
And I think you could, never mind the management, I think you could still play. but
I think you can definitely do podcasts, that's for sure.
But you'd have to go back to midfield because you couldn't do all that charging back from the halfway line.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you for staying to the end. Thank you to JT from Martin and me.
See you next time.
That's right. Okay, thank you, everyone, for watching, listening to the end. Martin, I've just got to say, you and I have known John Terry for a long time. I've known him since he was 15, 16. He's not like what most people think he is.
Well, it was wonderful for us today. I've enjoyed listening to it. I'm sure everybody who's joined the podcast will have enjoyed it as well. and it's so topical. And also, we're talking about one of the Premier League's great players of all time.
And he wouldn't play out from the back if he had half a dozen people pressing him down.
But he could.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Brilliant. Thank you again to the Munch and Wiggles coffee shop here in Oxshott, which is where we filmed it today. Fine coffee, fine pastries, and
A fine guest.
and quite often a fine Martin Tyler having his breakfast in here. Don't forget, subscribe, Patreon, substack.com. Have a good week.
Thanks a lot.